what are these people truly loyal to? Are they loyal to Marxism? Are they loyal to fascism? How can you go from Islamo-Marxism to Islamo-fascism by just flipping this coin? Well, you can't. You can't. That's not what happened. What happened is these people are consistently pro their nation, pro their people, pro their religion, pro their tradition, pro their culture. So whatever works for that, whatever gives them an advantage, they agree with. If you're pushing some kind of socialist doctrine that will benefit them, that's fine. Are you pushing a fascist doctrine that benefits them? That's fine. Are you pushing a liberal capitalist doctrine that benefits them? That's fine. They don't care. They care that it benefits them and theirs. They are tribal in the most classic sense of the word. And so they don't care about your abstract ideology. It's not about the sickle and the hammer. It's not about, each according to his need. It's not about the glorification of the central state. They don't care about any of that stuff. None of that matters to them. And the idea that it does is just an incredible need to project our own modern liberal understanding of the world on the people who in no way interact with it. And it's important for a very simple reason. Conservatives don't want to acknowledge the fact that the vast majority of people around the world to this day continue to be heavily ethnically loyal, religiously loyal, nationally loyal. They care about their people, their tribe, their nation, their religion. That's what they care about. They don't need to abstract it into some complex, philosophical understanding. They just care about them and theirs. And because that's what they're going to do that whether they're in the United States or not, whether they've crossed onto the magic dirt or not, whether they've raised their hand and said the pledge or not. They don't care. None of that matters to them. These ideological commitments, this understanding that we all have to share these abstract values, they don't matter to them. It's all just cover for introducing themselves into the system so that they can take over the system. The people in this photo with Mamdani, they don't care about what he believes as an ideology. They don't care about his philosophy. They're not tracing his ideas back to Karl Marx or Gentile or any of these, mid-century philosophy. They don't care. What they care about is Mamdani is going to take from the people in the United States and give to them. That's all they care about. It's not ideological. It's not about Marxism. They care that you have stuff and you're not Muslim. You're not from Somalia. You're not from Pakistan. And they want to take your stuff and give it to people from Somalia and Pakistan. That's it. That's all that matters. They don't care if you explain that with Marx. They don't care if you explain that with, Stalin. They don't care if you explain that with Hitler. They don't care if you explain that with Mussolini. They don't care if you explain that with, the Adam Smith. They don't care how it gets done. They just care that it gets done. You are a corpse they can loot. You are a slave they can work. You are a cow they can milk. That's it. That's all you are to these people. And because Americans have been trained to never think in this way, they have no antibodies against this type of thought. So they have to turn it all into an ideological abstraction. No. It's not that these people are just only caring about their own race and religion. It's that they're Marxists. Because if we oppose them on the basis of, well, actually, they only care about their race and religion, then we'd have to acknowledge that means we have to care about our people first. Like, it's not about just the ideology. It's that these guys are an opposing group that want to fleece America, and we have to care about Americans first. And Americans aren't just anybody who walks into America. It's not just anybody with a social security number. It's not just anybody who at some point went through the naturalization process. Paperwork Americans are not Americans. The end. But that terrifies our leadership. That terrifies conservatives because we have been trained to never, ever think this way. And because we've been trained to never think this way, we refuse to face the obvious facts and we refuse to take the obvious steps. And so today, I'm here to demystify this process, to stop playing games, to stop calling for half measures, and simply say what needs to be done. Because if you look at the stats of who is electing Zohran Mamdani, if you are a foreign-born New Yorker, you are far more likely to vote for Mamdani than if you are born in New York. Native New Yorkers are far less likely to support Mamdani than foreigners who have immigrated to New York. So this is not an election about ideas or principles or ideologies. This is a roll call. Roll call. Are you the class that built New York? Are you the people who contribute to New York? Are you the people who define New York? Or are you the people who are here to loot New York? Are you the people who are here to take? Are you the people who are here to ravage it and then move on to the next thing? Because you don't care. You don't care about New York and you don't care about the United States. And that is the coalition that binds together for Mamdani. And often they will do it even when they are at odds with his ideology because they don't really care about socialism. And in many cases, they don't even care about Islam. What they care about is, are you anti-American? Then that's the Mamdani coalition. Are you pro-American? That's the anti-Mamdani coalition. Has nothing to do with ideology, has nothing to do with socialism or Marxism, economic policies. It has to do with whether or not you are pro or anti the country, pro or anti the city, there to build or there to loot. That's it. And the more people who come in and don't have ties to the country, don't have ties to our traditions, don't have ties to our religion or beliefs, the more people will vote for Mamdani. And you can explain to them that socialism has failed and communism has failed, and these social grocery stores, they've never worked anywhere they've been tried. The price controls, they never work anywhere they've been tried. They don't care. They don't care if the economics don't bear out. And the fact that conservatives are going blue in their face trying to explain this ideological issue to these people as if they're going to be like, well, now that you've properly laid out some Miesian economics for me, I simply can't support Mom. No, come on, man. Like, where were you born? Were you born last night? Like, what's going on? So like I said, I just want to walk through this and lay out the actual way that this works. And I've got a few different graphs that we can look at real quick so we can kind of grasp the totality of the situation, right? So remember, after 9/11, the big concern for a lot of people was this is going to be this is going to be like the huge backlash, and all these bigoted Republicans are going to hate Muslims, and even George Bush believed this. The Republican Party totally pushed this. They bought it hook, line, and sinker. Do not let the Democrats carry all the blame here. Republicans are deeply responsible for this. Okay. They came in and said, no, we have to push the idea that it wasn't Islam. It's not Muslims. It's like this radical version. It's this radical understanding. That's the problem. Muslims can be Americans. Muslims can join our beautiful country, and it'll be just like any other person joining the country. There's no difference between a Muslim in Somalia and a Christian from Europe. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, and there's no difference. And we'll just bring them over, and it'll be fine. And if you disagree, you're hateful. This was coming from the Republicans. This was coming from the conservatives. This was coming from the right. They vilified normal America, right? This is the classic Norm Macdonald tweet you've probably seen knocking around like, oh, I worry that the real problem with the millions, the thousands of people who were killed in terror attack is that some innocent Muslim might get some level of criticism, right? Like, this is what we heard over and over and over again. This is where we got the term Islamophobia, right? And it permeated everything. And again, I do not want this. I want us to pretend this is just some function of the woke left, or this is the Democrats and them calling racist. This was George Bush. This was the Republican Party. This was the predominant opinion on the right, on the conservative sphere for a long time. And to be clear, there were some people who continued to push even against all of that, right? Even against all of that. But they were few. There were popular personalities, including Glenn Beck, by the way. He caught a lot of flack for this, for pointing out that the Islamic problem was a real problem. There were a lot of people who shouted him down for that because he was one of the few voices that continued to push that inside and say, you know what, this is a problem and we need to solve it. And you can see the level of betrayal here because look at the Muslims in the United States graph here, right? We start with like 500,000-ish in the 1990s. We get to the time of 2000s, right? This is, when the attack takes place. And what happens here, we see that we get about 1 million Muslims at that time. So you would expect, at the very least, even if ultimately we did not embrace some kind of rejection of Islam, you would at least expect the immigration numbers to stay relatively the same, right? Like, we're not just going to open our doors up to like a bunch of Muslims after a massive terror attack, right? We're worried about the hate against Muslims. We're not going to bring more Muslims in. No, actually, we more than doubled the population in 10 years. More than doubled the population of Muslims in the United States in the 10 years after 9/11. More than doubled it on purpose. This is not a mistake. This is a plan. After we were attacked by radical Islamists, what happened? We doubled the population on purpose. And then by the time we get to 2020, we're seeing another doubling, more than doubling of the or almost a doubling of the population again. A dramatic climb in Muslims in the United States on purpose. The Republican administration's doing just as much to make this happen as the Democrats. And why? Because it was very important that no one was called a racist, that no one was called an Islamophobe. And so it didn't matter if this was destroying our social fabric. It didn't matter if Muslims did not belong in the United States. It didn't matter if it was opening us up to more terrorism or more cultural rot. None of that mattered, because the most important thing in the world for Republicans, for the right, is saying, don't be racist. That's all that mattered.